Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m., February 27th. Welcome to my channel. Now, yesterday was a little nuts. Market drove up, sold off when Trump talked about tariffs. And then, of course, just like I thought, the market would push back up before NVIDIA earnings. And NVIDIA basically is flat. I mean, it's up 2.66%, but basically no monster move from that. But it actually, from the news, I guess, that it beat earnings, it's lifting semis up, but the market's still within yesterday's range. Today, it's going to be a little briefer um, for me on the channel. I got to take my daughter to the bus, so it will be a little express version. All right. Now, hopefully, you join me every day. Let me give you the news, the market updates, the laggards, the laggards, the leaders, market news, economic calendar, and join me every day. All right. Now, let's get right in. You know what? I'm just gonna go right into the watch list here. Um, Express version, right? All right. Let's go right into the watch list to see what's moving markets. Alrighty. So you got Bitcoin. Bitcoin's getting some love here. Let's see. They're up 2.41%. Crude is up 1.22%. Remember, fell under $70 a barrel. 10-year yields back up 1%. Interesting. Remember, crude and 10-year yields tend to follow each other. It's kind of crazy, but it's happening again. Ethereum is up a percent. Nasdaq's up 0.83. Russell up 0.77. ES up 0.63. The Dow's up 0.26, and the dollar's up 0.20. Silver is down 0.25. 30-year bonds being sold down 0.53. Gold down over a percent. VIX is down 6.70%. We're at a 17.82 VIX. Moving on to the Mag 7 Plus here. The leader here is Coinbase with Bitcoin moving up 3.54%. NVIDIA is up 2.64%. Broadcom up 2.19%. So the two semis getting some love today. Tesla up almost 2%. Amazon almost 1.85. AMD at 1.51. Meta's up 1.44. GE up 1.19. So a lot of stocks getting love today. Google up 1.97. The laggard today is Apple down 0.40. Let's go to the top sector stocks here. Snowflake reported earnings. They're up 12.80%. So they beat, right? Now Uber is getting love today, up 1.07. Morgan Stanley's up 0.80. Cat up 0.71. The laggard. Now PepsiCo was driven up higher earlier from the rotation into staples for the days we were selling off. People took some profits. Procter and Gamble down 0.18. And Salesforce reported earnings and they missed. So they are down 3.69. They were down more earlier. All right. Let's look at the more granular list here. And you got Mara Mining was all the way down to 14. Wow. All the way down to 12. And they're up 12.69%. Vistra reported earnings. They must have, I believe they reported earnings this morning. Up 6.28%. Soundhound 6.17. Hood up 5.61. Domino's Pizza up 4.93. Riot up 4.92. Vertiv up 4.45. Walgreens Boot Alliance, interesting, up 4.17. Okay. Now let's go to laggard. We do have some laggards. I think this is that Tandem Diabetes down 21.11%. Pretty big. eBay down 8.16. I believe they reported earnings. Bath and Body Works down 5.09. Quantum Computing IonQ down 4.98. OpenAI reported earnings too. They are down 4.16. Supermicro Computers was up, down 2.84. All right. All right. Let's move on to sectors. So sectors here, we have semiconductors leading the pack up 1.18, followed by discretionary. That's your Amazon, your Tesla up 0.77. Energy Financials, technology's up 0.58. Everything's up except staples, and staples are only down slightly. So getting a bounce, but in perspective, we're still inside yesterday's range. So really, the market hasn't gone anywhere, right? So moving on. Let's move on to the economic calendar and some news. Like I said, a little bit of an express version today. So today we have some news coming at 8:30. It might move markets. All right, we got durable goods, but the GDP growth, that's really what could possibly move markets. We're looking at 2.3. Previous was 3.1. All right, we got initial jobless claims. Then we got more Fed speak today. Pending home sales at 10 a.m. Sometimes that moves the market, sometimes it doesn't. More Fed speak for the rest of the day. All right, tomorrow's core PCE. All right, let's move on to the earnings. Now earnings after the close: NVIDIA, Snowflake, OpenAI, Salesforce, Marathon, IonQ. I didn't realize that they reported. They reported as well. All right, now before they open today, Vistra, Norwegian Cruise Line, and TD Bank. All right, and after the close today, SoundHound, Dell, Rocket Labs, and Transmedics, Duolingo, and then tomorrow before the open, Fubu. That's basically it, really. All right, back to the economic calendar, and we'll go to some news. So shares in NVIDIA move higher as higher than anticipated quarter sales projection was counterbalanced by a narrowing in profit margins. Okay, so that's why it didn't go crazy. Bath and Body Works shares dropped after the retail issued a below consensus forecast for its first quarter. Shares in eBay plunged 8% after the e-commerce giant provided weaker than expected revenue guidance for the first quarter. Let's see here. Crypto miner Mara Holdings moved higher on stronger than expected fourth quarter revenue. Papa John's shares ticked higher after the pizza chain beat fourth quarter. That's probably why Domino's Pizza is moving up. Paramount Global dropped after MTV parent reported fourth quarter sales and income that missed Wall Street's estimates. Salesforce shares fell after the software group unveiled a revenue outlook that came up short and analyst estimates. Cloud computing group Snowflake gained more than 10% on a product revenue outlook that topped analyst projections, and Vistra reported fourth quarter core earnings as its retail unit that topped expectations, sending shares in the Texas-based energy utility higher. All right. So there you have that. We won't go over upgrades and downgrades today, just a matter of time. We're going to go right into the daily charts here. So yesterday we did a whole lot of nothing. Okay, whole lot of nothing. So I have this fib still on here, right? We retested this trend line yesterday and the 100-day moving average and still happened to close right at the 50% Fibonacci of this move, right? What did we do yesterday as well? Hit the 50-day moving average and anchored year-to-date anchored VWAP and could not get over it. Also hit last week's highs. Okay, last week's lows. Last week's lows. Okay, so last week's lows was resistance. So this market's kind of holding now, right? You got your bounce, tried to go again. So this is a feather in the cap for the bears. Okay, where are we at now? 598.20, 598.20. We're right up in here, right? We're testing close to the year-to-date anchored VWAP again, and last week's lows. Okay, and the 100-day moving average is still supporting. This trend line still supporting, and the 61.8 retracement still holding at 5. Let's call it 590. If we break 590, I believe we do. There's a gap here below. We probably fill that gap, and that would be roughly around 585. Okay, let's look at the futures. All right, futures here. You can see here the 100-day moving average is resistance in futures. Remember, this is back adjusted. So If you just put in /ES, you're not going to see the same levels as me. You have to put in ES H25 to have back adjusted contracts. Otherwise, it's continuous and the levels are different. Okay, so 100-day moving average acting as resistance, year-to-date anchored VWAP right here. Okay, right there, and this is last week's lows. So last week's lows have been resistance. So you're getting excess and excess and excess, but what are we doing? We're balancing lower prices, right? We're balancing with lower prices. So the more we hang out here, we could fall lower. Who knows? Who knows? Let's go to the Qs. All right, so the Qs have that fib on here. Remember, they broke the 61.8, but they got the 100-day moving average support here, right? Now, look at this trend line that was here. It was broken, and we closed below it. We tried to come above it, closed below it, right at the 61.8, right? Right at the 61.8 Fibonacci. Year-to-date anchor VWAP wasn't even touched yesterday. Last week's lows wasn't even touched. So tech has definitely been weaker. Okay, so we'll be like watching this. Let's zoom out a little bit. So you can see here we have this big. I'm trying to see where the gap is. That gap was kind of almost filled there. Good morning, Chief. Let's see here. Yeah, the gap, you don't really have that. Let me make sure I know what I'm talking about here. There's that little gap. You don't really have the same thing as you have in the SPY. See this SPY, this gap? You don't have that in the QQQ. All right, so where's the QQQ now? We're at 518.88. See, so we're at the upper portion of yesterday, but remember, we're inside yesterday's session. Okay, we're at the top, we are, but 50% Fibonacci, 520, holding under 520. Like I said, let's look at futures. All right, so futures, we're right at the 100-day moving average. We're playing around with that, right? Well under the year-to-date anchor VWAP, and lower move, holding, right? Creating value lower. You're not just ripping back up, right? Can we rip back up? Of course we can. Okay, that's what that's looking like. All right, let's move on to the triple-headed monster. Let's go to that bond market, and you're getting some love today in the bond market. I mean, it's not much, but you are getting a little bounce. But crude also is starting to push up. Okay, I showed you that comparison. So let's look at the bond market, right? Remember I said this poor structure here should be taken out. It almost pretty much was. And we hit the 200-day moving average. That's what I was talking about, right? This is the next test. If we drop, we go to 4.13 yield. Okay. So the bond market, remember, is the smart money. Now, this is either fear. People are buying bonds. Remember, this is the inverse. So if I was to put TLT, it would look the opposite of this. So really have to see here, right? Does this make a leg lower? I suspect if this market dips lower, the yield should fall. Okay, let's go to that Dixie, that dollar. The dollar's been on a downtrend. Now look, it's trying to break out of this descending wedge here. Trying to, but the price is just compressing. It is going to make a move. Okay, we came down to this support level, 105.88. It's kind of bouncing there, but really compressed move here. Expecting something to happen in the dollar. All right, now our fear gauge, the good old VIX, 30 days out of fear. We came all the way up to a 21 VIX, dropped off, tried 20 again, dropped off, right? And now we're sitting here around 17.87. Still a nice VIX, still a nice volume today. So day after earnings of NVDA, we're pretty much through all major earnings. We're pretty much gone. We're done with, there's no major earnings right now. So we're through it. Okay. And that's about it for the triple-headed monster. Moving on to our main event here. That's your market profile and volume profile. We'll look at structure together. All right, so remember what I was saying about what are we doing, right? And let's get into structure here. Let's get into yesterday real quick. What happened? So yesterday we opened here, and of course, when it got down to here, I was so close to long. This was part of my pre-market plan. Remember the overnight lows here? I was talking about this pre-market. There was a demand zone here, and I was like, "Ooh, all the internals look good." And then I just didn't pull the trigger, and then it went like that, right? So we came up here where last week's lows, last week's lows, right? And it just couldn't get over it. And then Trump talked about tariffs. Market fell all the way down, and then down here, I was like, they're gonna buy this market back up for NVIDIA, and that's what happened. And we closed here. So that's yesterday, right? You don't want to be holding the bag into NVIDIA earnings. You don't know what's gonna happen. So now, what do we have, right? 24-hour most trader price is around 6,001. 60/30 is still the real-time trading hours most trader price of the week. Could that move today? Yes, but right now it hasn't moved. Okay. So here's the story. Let's look at the story. Here's last week's lows, 6,024. We have not been able to get above that. Okay. So you got big move down, move down, move down, move down, and then you had a little bounce yesterday, failed, closed down here. Now you have the overnight session. Okay. Overnight session. And we're starting to, I would think that 60/30 would move to around 6,000 today, the most traded price. And the more you stay here, right, you have the ability to move lower. Now there's an unfilled gap below us right here. We filled some of it. Okay. So let's look at levels. They're pretty easy to look at today. They're pretty easy. There's a big demand zone here, right? Then you have basically its confluence low. Let's say it's 59.50 to 59.45. That is an area where bulls want to defend. You got a composite high volume node at 59.50 right here. Okay, right there. Now, we have a session that's almost equal to the yesterday's highs and lows, right? Now we have supply here, and you have last week's highs, last week's lows, I'm sorry. And you have above it the most traded price of the week. Okay, so it's very plain to see here what could happen today. Okay, very plain to see. Now we'll get right into scenarios. Give me one sec. All right, so let's get into scenarios. I don't know who's watching right now. I know maybe Chief's listening. Not Rosita. I'm trying to bat around an idea because I know I do my scenarios here, right? I'm trying to bat around if I somehow can superimpose like candles here because I know most people look at candlesticks. I'm trying to think about, I'm going to test some things out to see because I know I look at this and it makes sense, but not everybody looks at this and it makes sense. I know I mentioned out levels, but just something to think about. I want to think about because I know my stuff is not easy on the eyes. Okay. Now, so I'm going to start off. Let's start off with who's really in charge still is the Bears. So 60.24 we know is last week's lows. We got a supply zone here where we've been failing to go higher, right? Pretty simple. Pretty simple. And then we have this big demand zone here, and we have this high volume node, confluence low, 59.50 to 59.45. Okay. Oh, cool. Cool. So Now, like I said, I'm gonna try to put candle. I'm gonna see if I can. I'm not sure if I can do that. Superimpose candles on here. That'd be nice. Um, I have to think. I have to see if I can do that, or I just do a quick screenshot of the hourly chart. All right. So here it is for the bear case. Okay. If the market comes up here, you want to see what it does, right? You want to see what it does. Can it break the 60.23? Can we break last week's lows and 60.30, the most traded price? This is not going to be easy, okay? Because I believe we're kind of more in the seller rips now. So if you get lower highs, we could traverse, right? And I believe your first chance here, and you got the most traded price at overnight here, 59.79. You could really traverse this. Now maybe the demand works, right? But if it doesn't, you go down to this confluence low, okay? Confluence low here, the 59.50 to 59.45. If you really break that, I do think you can go and fill this gap at least, okay? Now, of course, market's got to support it with the internals. That's 59.09. It's called 59.10, okay? That's 59.10. So that's what I'm seeing for the short, all right? For the long, okay? For the long, price is right here, okay? So there's last week's lows, which will not be hard to get through, right? And you have demand zone here, right, with the overnight VPOC right here, and then you have that confluence low, 59.45 to 59.50. Okay, 59.50 to 50. Now maybe this will help out, so you can see the bars here. Maybe I'll try to do that more. I don't know if that helps with the price action. Okay, so all right, so price is up here, right? So what I'd want to see, okay, price is right here. You have supply. I'm not crazy about longing a supply. So what would I like to see? I'd like to see it take out these buyers here and then get your first test into this demand. Okay? Get your first test into here. Really see if this demand can hold. Right? If this demand holds with the most traded price of the overnight right here, we could start creeping up and try attempt to break 60.24, 60.30. Okay, you got supply right in here. See if you can work your way through this. Not going to be easy to about 60.50. Okay, that's number one. Okay, that's what I would like to see. Now, of course, you have a confluence low here that if price was to drop, right, go through the most traded price of the overnight. This is your big last shot for bulls. That's that 59.50 to 59.45. That's the big last shot. Okay, and if the market, let's say, is not super weak, right? It might be though, so that's why I pause with it. But let's say a mosey's on down here, and it's not that weak. Well, any kind of like thing here could be a bear trap, and then you can rip back up and traverse and try to test yesterday's highs. Okay. Now I don't know if these bars did it help. Hopefully this helped visualize it a little more. I don't know if maybe even showing these bars from yesterday like that, because these are basically bars. Um, so I'm gonna just put this back to profile. Okay, so there you go. There's the scenarios. Cool. Pretty simple today. That's what I like about that. All right, I got about a couple minutes here. Let's see if we can get into the Nasdaq here. Nasdaq's, wow, very easy here for the Nasdaq. The structure here is very nice. All right. Now the most traded price has moved down, 212, right here. Okay. So give me 1 second here. All right, here. Let's just real quickly. We're gonna get right into scenarios here, because just for time's sake, see if I can just nail this for you guys. Because we got some key levels right off the bat here. So right off the bat, you have this 214.0907. Okay. Now remember, the Qs are weaker because last week's lows is all the way up here. They're not even by it. So you have this resistance right here, 214.09, 214.10, maybe call it, and supply right up there. You just want to see what you do with that, okay? Now, down here, you do have a demand zone. You do have the most shorter price of the week. However, you do have this 211.04 confluence low with, so you have the overnight low and the RTH low in conjunction with each other. That just means you either break through that or it holds. Okay, so price is right here, right at the most traded price of yesterday. Okay, and it happens to be the most traded price of the overnight. No surprise there. All right. Now, if price moves up into here, you just have to see what it does. Is the market weak? Is it whatever? Because it can roll. And if it rolls and you cut through the 212 and this demand, then your big test is here. And you're in a big demand zone that's been touched multiple times. If it breaks, maybe we go to the end of the demand zone around 209.90. Okay. And if that goes down, we go down to all the way to here. Okay. So that's very, very easy. It's very nice when you got equal overnight to RTH, because it makes it very easy and you know where to be active. Not in here. You get chopped up. Okay. So let's go to the bull. Right. So we know we have the confluence low here. Bulls have to defend this area. All right. We do have a demand that lines up with the most traded price of the overnight. And we do have this 214.10 resistance level that bulls want to break. Okay. Price is here. Now, we could rip through the supply, and then you'd have to wait for a retest to see if you can make it up to this 216. That's number one. That was also in the ES that I failed. I don't think I put that in there. Secondly, if we fall, you got this demand. See if that can hold, move it up. Last try for the bulls is down here. You could have a bear trap, maybe push down, and then you can traverse as well. Okay, so that's the scenarios today. Just to show you here, that's the bars, and you can see right here. Let me see if I can read. There you go. That's the scenario with the bars there. All right. Okay. That's going to do it, folks. Got to take my daughter to the bus. So, smash that like button if you enjoyed the analysis. And again, I'm going to try to rework to see if I can. I'm just trying, in the essence of time, trying to figure out the best way to show everybody. I probably candlesticks. Today, yeah, I'm probably going to. I have to see with my daughter on the bus. But yeah, I'll let you know if you're in the Discord. All right. So, again, you can join Confluence Trading Discord server. Go to my YouTube homepage and join it. Try to go live today. All right. And of course, always subscribe. I give you the story, I give you the lowdown in the markets and my trade scenarios. So hopefully you join me. Subscribe and alert. Subscribe, set an alert. And everybody have a great day. If you see me on the server, see me on the server. If not, I'll